Hey, what's up guys? What I'm going to do today is a video analysis and review of the track Sabre and I just completed. It's a 3,000 meter double blind assessment track that we're trying to push out to 10,000 meters as our ultimate goal, but obviously we've got to progress that and break it down into smaller steps. So early in the day, we've already completed a 2,000 meter long track, and now we're attempting a 3,000 meter long track. And all I'm going to do is go over what I was feeling, what the dog was feeling, what was happening in that moment of the tracks, and see if we can tease out some learning points. So we start off, the set articles there. That cone is just so I have a reference point of where to look, because sometimes you might have a small sock, you don't know exactly where it is. So there it is on the right hand side of the video. But yes, so we get started, and Sabre is a great dog to track behind. She lets you know when you're on the track, very much so as to when you're not on the track. So it makes it very easy for me as a handler to read. So 3,000 meters, I'm just hoping to get a good start, because if you get a good start, that sets a tone for the rest of the track. Because often I find that people who have tough starts, or the dog just doesn't quite get it in those first few moments, first few 100 meters, the rest of the track is going to be a battle. So we started well. And coming up to here, I started noticing something interesting from Sabre. Oh, before that, as the track layer was laying his track, he communicated that there was a big a large herd of cattle on the track, and does he want me to continue? And I said, yeah, just keep going. And I'll just have to deal with that as we go. And now I'm thinking in my own head at this time, I was like, oh, why'd I do that? Because Sabre is bouncing between multiple tracks here. So typically Sabre, once she picks up a track, she stays on that track the whole way. And, you know, obviously she might veer off from time to time, but there's no like multiple tracks. And I was getting the feeling here that Sabre was jumping between crushed ground track and another crushed ground track, and was giving me a lot of indications, none of which was consistent to what a single person would lay. So I'm now having second guesses and doubts in my head as, are we actually following our track layer? As you see here, she's sort of jumping, like she looks like she's going in one direction, then all of a sudden she turns, and she looks like she's going in a completely different direction. Now it makes it very hard for me as a handler to know what to go with and what not to. So, you know, you want to do your best whenever you're tracking to stay out of your dog's way and let them figure the problem out. But as you see here, this problem got too big for me to just allow Sabre to do that. And you'll see as we're going along here that we start tracking directly towards the herd of cattle. And I'll talk to you about that when we get up to it. I'm just going to pull up the overlay so I can have a look at my own self and talk you through where we are. Yeah, we're well off the actual true track in this part of the part of our 3,000 meter, and I was in these moments. You just pray that your dog gives you a clear indication of what we're doing, and you'll see up ahead here shortly. You can actually see the cattle that we're heading directly towards. So it comes, yeah, see right there, like that sort of stuff there. I'll rewind it. It just told me that we're not actually. Yeah. I can't actually know how. I've lost the ability to rewind, but irregardless, the dog jumping from track to track is very unlike Sabre when she's tracking a single person. It reminds me when I was in the police dog unit, when I'd track after a group of offenders. Say, car's been involved in a pursuit and the multiple offenders have gotten out and legged it across the field. This is exactly what it looked like. Your dog would go on one track and then go over and start tracking another track parallel to the one you were on, and you're like, yeah, I'm tracking multiple offenders here, and you just try to do your best. In that case, it's okay because any arrest will be good. But here, I don't really want to find cattle. That's not going to help me at all in trying to get to this end of this 3,000 meters. So, and that's the other thing too. You really don't want to fail so early on because you're like, it's a lot of logistics. Like you have a track layer that lays you a 3,000 meter track. That's no small feat in itself, and it is annoying and frustrating to have the person waiting and you're ready to go just to fall at the first hurdle. So anyway, but it's what can happen. Like it is definitely a part of this sport, and you know, things that make it so addicting is that you have a bit of time on, like a bit of, what's the word, stakes in it, because you don't want to have to get the person track layer to lay another 3,000 meter track for you. You just want that one to work out as planned. And to go wrong over cattle, it would have been a hard pill to swallow, because it's not like it's just your dog who's missed the corn and failed. It's like, no, something else has gotten in the way and affected this outcome, which typically would have been fine to do otherwise. But that's the sport we're in, and these things can definitely happen. And it becomes upon you. There, I'm just pointing out there. There's the cattle. Look ahead. You can see. I think there's some sort of Brangus cattle cross mix. But anyway, you can see them all there, and we're heading straight to it. And I'm thinking now, well, I'm gonna have to make a decision here. What do we do? Do we keep following Sabre and giving her a head? You know, all those tracking gurus out there, or trailing gurus say, oh, let your dog figure it out. Self-discovery. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Let's see how self-discovery goes here. All I'll be doing is pushing the cattle further and further, and then I'll just be following cattle around the whole bloody state forest. So you end up having to make a decision. And that's what all the best handlers do. They know when to interject and start becoming a dog tank. So here I've decided, nah, I'll fix this lead tangle, and I'm just taking my dog away from this whole scene. I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated, but I'm like, well, using my bit of logic here, I can go, those cattle didn't move into place since the track layer had left. So we AG's long distance tracks, a minimum of 30 minutes. And from what I could tell, those cattle were there still. So I was like, well, a good chance they've been just sitting there the whole time. So now I've got to start using my own brain to put Sabre in a place where there will be a productive source of odor clear of any cattle tracks. Because I think about when you're tracking in these conditions, about 80% of the scent comes from the disturbed ground, the crushed ground. So you can imagine cattle with their 4 hooves stomping along, heavy animals too. They're kicking up a lot of crushed ground odor. And the 20% of the remaining scent picture is from the track layer. So the track layer is just, you know, human scent being in the environment. So I'm just trying to move Sabre clear of any of this cattle crushed ground odor, and just seems she gives me a different direction. So I'm trying to look for something like moving to a clear set area without her wanting to track straight back towards that cattle, because that's my only chance. If the track layer did go this direction, well, I was screwed anyway. So all I wanted was to move, so heading back towards the direction of the cattle, you can actually see them there. All I wanted was Sabre to go in the opposite direction of where those cattle were. And I'll end up taking her there if she doesn't do it on her own accord. So ideally, you want your dog to pick up that scent, but you can see we're still working back towards that cattle. Jeez, and now that just pushes them away. So no, I'm now getting involved in the track, and this takes years of failures. I failed more tracks than anyone else, because when I was in the police, you fail a lot of tracks. I estimated about the amount of times to track for an offender to actual catches is about 5%. You know, I've heard people say, they're 80% catches. I'm just like, no way. That is a lie, because the amount of times the amount of things that can go wrong on a track, especially if you're tracking for live people trying to get away from you, as you would as a police dog handler, everything has to align. All stars have to align in order for you to locate that person. You might have the best tracking dog in the world, and And I had a really good one in Mammoth, but when it came down to it, you had to fight the crook, you had to fight the environment, you had to fight. He was trying to do anything in his power to stuff you up. So he would look to get in a car, call a taxi. You know, people would just be walking their dogs, getting in the way. It's just a million and one things that would stuff you up and could go wrong, and they usually did. So basically I'm saying I know how to fail a track. I know what to do in order to avoid failure as the best you can. And this is my best option at the time. I was like, look, if I keep doing what I'm doing, allowing the dog to, learn through self-discovery, yada, 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 I'll end up losing this track. So my best bet is to remove my dog from the track, take it to a clean area, know that her training is solid, and that if there is a fresh track here, that she will locate it. So you'll see on the overlay, we get over to, there's a portion of the track where I touch the latest track again, but then we keep going on straight. So hard to say why that is, but we come up to a fence line and that's when we hit the true track, and once we're there, we're right. But I'll talk to you through my what I was thinking throughout, because once you have something like that, you have all you're thinking is that's not the track, that's cattle. So you have a high level of doubt in your mind, and all you can do is just trust your dog. And now the fact that we're working away from that herd of cattle, it gives me a little bit of hope that we're not just going back to the same spot again and again. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, now that we're moving away from that herd of cattle, I'm getting a little bit more confidence, but still in the back of my mind, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we're not still tracking as I typically do, but it's something to go on with. If some of my dog's willing to work, I'm happy to keep tracking. So my dog's definitely wanting to move down this direction. So she could be up in some blown odor here. It was a fairly still day. The wind was, we're actually working into a headwind. So could be what Sabre is actually picking up on, allowing us to move forward, being that we're not actually on the true track. So the true track is where the track layer has walked. And you see me, I'm just like, I'm a little bit confused of what she's telling me. Still not convinced that we're on the right path. And I won't be convinced for a very long time, because there's still cattle around, as you'll see further up here. So this track goes for about, let me have a check. I'm tracking for 43 minutes. It's aged 30 minutes long. So 43 minutes of tracking, guys. This video will go for that long, so don't feel bad if you check out, because I know it's hard. It's a hard watch for the majority of people, just the general public, watching tracking videos. I know they're not most entertaining things, but me trying to at least analyze and give you my thought processes, it's in an attempt to make it more appealing. And I put the overlay on, I got the little dog emoji following my path, so you can have some sort of reference as to where we're at. So now we hit the fence line and boom, we're back on to the true track. And you'll notice here that Sabre tracking is different now, right? She's much more single-minded in where she needs to be. And this gives me a little bit of confidence, see? My pace picks up, and that's okay. Like for Sabre's tracking pace, I don't put too much pressure on her. She likes, out of a full 10 I'm about a 3, okay? Which I have pressured, so I'm able to maintain a level of control, but it's nothing where she's having to drag. Okay, for here, I'm like, no, we're not going back in there. See, still, you get these little bits of confidence, and then she does something like that, and you're like, why push me out that way? And there's no way to know. You just hope she comes back. So I knew we had a good portion on the track there, and now she wants to go. Now she wants to go back into the forest again. I'm like, oh, I don't believe that's where it will be.
Matt, can you repeat, please? If you can hear me, we're on the track. I'm assuming you're in place. Just click yes if you are. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, you're in place, yes?
Yep, 3,000 meters.
Okay, great. We're already on the track. See you soon.
Yeah, so tracking in these locations is going to be a mix of ground tracking with nose of the dog on the ground in the footsteps, as well as a mixture of head coming up and some air scenting, because the environment is like that. So you'll see there's some tall grass, there's some short grass. The dog is going to use whatever's available to it. So why though I prefer tracking is going to give me an accurate result. Okay, we're trailing and dogs that have the nose up majority of the way. In a situation like this, you know, it's going to be hard because you don't know. I need that confirmation. And when the dog's nose hits the ground, they have a change of behavior, body snap, a head snap. That tells me something of interest is here. I can now rely on that to know, well, we're in the right area. If you have a dog that's just using airborne odor disturbance and the wind's pushing it around, you never really have a true confidence. And I like having that confidence of, like, I can hang my hat on the fact that my dog tracked here. I can walk to that next point and then see where we go from there. So back when I was in a police dog unit, we used to have handlers that would track like just dot to dot. They would describe it as putting together a dot to dot, and you're just looking for indications enough to walk to and then look for the dog to give you a next one by the time you get up to the one that you saw. And sometimes that's all you get, especially in the older tracks. You might only get, you know, an indication every 10, 15 meters, and that's what we had to work with. And look, it works. And it's an interesting way of thinking of it. You're just doing a big dot to dot because you're never going to have an unbroken track. And you see I'm coming up here now, and we're following the track layer, as you can tell by the overlay, and we come across some more cattle. And like, I really didn't want to go back in the forest because I was like, I'm sure there's still cattle in there. But if that's where the track went, I would have had to go. But I was just like, and I'm looking here, I'm seeing cattle footprints in the ground. Like, that's another thing too, guys. Use your own senses to assist, okay? So I'm constantly looking at the ground. I'm constantly scanning the area ahead. Don't just focus on your dog. And I know the natural ability is just to look at your dog, but when you get more advanced and you have spent hours and hours behind your dog, you'll have the ability to start taking in and scanning the environment around you. It doesn't happen to multiple years in tracking that you have this confidence enough to do that. But it is what separates novice handlers from the experience, the ability to take in more of the environment rather than just definitely fixating on your dog, because you'll miss stuff. Like, I'm constantly looking for footprints to confirm for me that we're on the right path. And there's some signs of that the track layer we're following a track layer further on in this video. So I'll let you know when we get to there. But right now, I remember I kept repeating to myself, "Hey, there's a spider web." That's the joys of tracking in the bush. I I remember having to repeat to myself, especially in this part here, just trust your dog, trust your dog, trust your dog. And that's what got me through, because you go through phases where you're highly doubting that we're now on the track. Just because everything that's happened before, you believe that the track will go one direction, it doesn't. But if the dog's still doing this, I'm still going forward. And that little mantra there of trust your dog has gotten me it's got me a lot of fines, because it is honestly at this distance it becomes more a mental game. And I didn't want to know how far I've gone, so I told Colin, don't tell me the distances. I want to be totally blind. So I knew the track had to be minimum of 3,000, and when you're pushing up over 1,000 or getting towards 1,000, you lose comprehension of how far you've gone, and you think you've travelled further than you actually have. Right now, I have no comprehension of how far I've gone, mainly because of the stuff around at the beginning, and just that threw any sort of sense of what I was doing. And you can see I've tracked a lot further because I got taken off the true track, and I worked a lot more. So the fact that my dog's doing this, that tracking pace there tells me we're doing something positive. We're on the right path. And I'm looking now on the soft ground, I'm looking for any sort of signs of a footprint. I can see some cattle prints, no shoe prints. I'm like, oh geez. But I know there's a lot of grasses around as well, but I would have given anything to see a footprint there. Just enough to be like, well, no one else is out here except us. So that would have been a great sign for my confidence. And as I'm working this fence line, I can see in the distance, there's a fence and a railway corridor. And I'm just hoping we head that direction, because I know if we get over on that corridor, that wouldn't be cattle. But stuff like this, the dog just kept giving me enough of a body tell that we're on the right path. That behaviour right there, nose down, active sniffing. Really just gave me the confidence I need, enough to keep going. Look, the main thing that I was looking for in the dog enough to keep going is that it's still enjoying a task, okay? And that's another thing. I was like, I've never pushed a dog out this far, especially, Sabre anyway. She's never my working dog. When I was in the police, she was just a pet dog. But see, like this stuff here, that there, yeah, there's no reason she'd do that unless there was a crushed ground there. So I was like, okay, cool. But another thing I was finding interesting, that what is your dog's fatigue levels going to be like once you get pushed out to, the longer distances? Is she going to be able to handle it? Like, she doesn't do much bushland tracking. Like this, in fact, this is our first time doing it in over a year. So when you're running workshops, you don't get the chance to do workshops as much as you want to. And that's just part of, being an instructor. So I was interested to see how she's going to handle tracking for so long. And it was interesting that she was fine. Like, she didn't really show any signs of fatiguing or slowing down. In fact, she stuck with it, more better than I thought she would. What I think ends up happening when there's no track there and your dog's working for nothing, you'll see signs of fatigue faster. But when your dog's on the track, it seems like fatigue's not a consideration. But we're moving out towards this fence now, and I'm thinking, okay, if we get in that other side of that fence, I know it's the track layer. So I'm looking here, and I can see some mud on the fence there. You can see when Sabre moves, there's two little mud prints there. I was like, ooh, that could be a track layer, right when I'm stepping now, see? And the fact that she did, anytime your dog does something like a big maneuver like that, like an intentional maneuver where she jumps the fence or goes through something, I tell myself, my dog wouldn't do that unless there was a reason to, okay?
There you go.
To do something of that effort for no reason doesn't make sense. So I am encouraged now. I'm like, beautiful. Now I have to figure out where the track goes from here. And my first instinct was that it goes across into the next forested area. But as we were going there, Sabre takes a right-hand turn. I was like, okay, well, now this is a time where I want to let my dog work, because the track could go in any direction. So, okay, does it go to left? You always, it's like I said, it's a constant, yep, there we go, I thought. No, she cast directly across that fence line, so I'm thinking, oh, maybe not there now. So I'll allow my dog the opportunity, now that we're in a clean area, free from competing odors, give my dog an opportunity to locate a track. She had a bit of a hard surface track there. I'm like, okay, interesting. But you notice how I'm going with her, I'm allowing her an opportunity to locate this track. And that's what you got to be able to do, is just know when to get involved and know when to stay out of your dog's way. Yeah, still nothing. Still nothing's, but I know the track's come up to this point here. So I've gone past that fence again. I was like, oh, that's where I'd go if I was a track layer. But that's the trick. You can't get in your own head because you're not a track layer, but you think like one. Anyway, so Sabre's come across a puddle of water here, and it's probably a good opportunity to collect our thoughts. Let her catch her breath. She wants a drink. She can have one here. And I just thinking now, thinking. Okay, and that was the end of that video file. I'll get the next one up. Yeah, saying I've been there, where haven't I been? So that's the thing, like, I haven't really talked about this much, but I think I might start incorporating it in more of my content and discussions and videos. The idea about negatives, so they call negatives, and basically it is where the track isn't. So I can cancel that part out. So for example, in this case here, I cast the dog 2-3 times in front of that fence on the other side of the tracks. The dog did not give me an indication that that track goes that way. So in those circumstances, I know now that the track hasn't gone that direction. So I can cancel that whole area out. To be able to do this, you've got to be able to trust your dogs, what they're telling you. So you'll be a better handler if you could tell where the track isn't versus where the track is. Especially in moments when you're lost on the track, you don't exactly know where. If you can cancel out locations, I went this direction, nothing there. I went that direction, nothing there. So by a process of elimination, that means the track has to be this direction. And this is what I've done here. Even though I don't think, well, I'm like, surely not, the track has just walked on the hard surface of the train tracks. I'm like, surely the track lady wouldn't have stitched me up and done this to me. It's a bushland track. Why are we on hard surface? But she's tracking. Like, there's portions here where she's like detailing the ground like she was on a fresh hard surface track with spray. And I'm just so grateful that I had that foundation of hard surface tracking that I do spend a lot of time on. She does lots of hard surface tracking. Because it's low investment, don't need that much logistics. You have 10 minutes, 15 minutes at home, you can lay a few tracks. And look right there, like, she's tracking, I'm saying. Like, in my head, she's tracking. There's no reason why she would do this other than if the track was there. And then last thing you want to do if your dog's working and it's on the track is to remove your dog to do something that you think you know better. You don't know where the track is in these circumstances because it is the only way you're going to find the dog. But it is also nuanced, because I knew better when it was the cattle, right? So I knew it was cattle ahead. So that's when you can get involved. But in situations like this, there's no cattle. There's no one else here. So quite, desolated train track. And Sabre's tracking on it. So, all right, we'll keep going. And as you can see here, this is a long portion.
Hi, Matt, can you repeat?
A long portion of the track is on these, on this railway. So
yeah, we still think we're on the track. We're not sure.
and a big shout out to Colin for filming. Like he came along and he worked his dog as well. And these tracks are tiring, and it's always easier to be the handler than the person following. Okay, so multiple reasons. One, you have a dog that's, pulling you as well as you're focused on your dog. So you're not thinking about anything else other than just following your dog, and you want to succeed. And when you're the person following and filming, it's a lot more fatiguing, because you're having to manage your pace in relation to the dog and the dog team. Whereas if you're the handler, you're just like, yeah, buddy, I'm loving this. I can keep going all day. So big shout out to Colin for filming. And he's got to concentrate on the radio, the camera, and make sure he's doing everything. So it is amazing that I have a group of people that are willing to come out and do this sort of stuff with us. So thank you very much for that. Anyway, we're back on the track now, and Sabre's picked up a pace. And I was like, okay, I'm trust you, girl, because you've never led me astray. Like, this is no flex, but Sabre has never failed me on a bushland track. Never. Like, I've never lost a track with Sabre in this environment. So my trust in her is very high. She's failed hard services and stuff like that, but if there's a person at the end of the track, this is her number one motivation. So that's another thing. I find if you just stick with hard services all the time and you don't ever put a body at the end of it, your dog can go, oh, okay, you become a bit lackluster, especially if they're not in the mood that day. But you put a real person at the end of the track. Like, this track's now, half an hour old, no spray, no anything, just the person walking on the track, and she's tracking like hard service like it was on, week one of hard service tracking course, like where I'm making it very obvious where this is. But you can see here, she's doing it with no need for reinforcements, no need for spray or articles. She's just like, nope, I can smell, there's human odor here, there's crushed ground, we're going this direction. And I'm looking around going, sure, they've been on this bloody track for like 500 meters and still nothing. So, but hey, I was like, okay, we'll see where this goes. And I'm looking around, I see there's a fence line there, like a barbed wire fence on both sides. I'm just like, so I'm thinking, well, I don't think the track label would have gone through there, and the dogs keep going straight down this track. Is there someone else who walk down this path? Like, these are all the thoughts that go through your head when you're doing a track like this. And yeah, it's pretty cool when you're successful, because you just go back, you're like, oh my goodness, that was a lot. Look at that. Like, amazing. I'm just like, okay, that is confirmation again. She gave me so much confirmation. I'm just like, yep, we're on here, but where does it end? You don't know. Like, probably done, maybe 2,000 meters of the track so far. Maybe a bit more. At the time, you don't know. You have no idea. And all you can do is trust your dog. So we'll keep going, and some interesting stuff happens up ahead. So wait to get to there. So look, as I was saying before, these videos, I understand they're not the most entertaining and enthralling. This is like someone going for a walk. But the main reason I'm doing these and recording everything is for record purposes only, okay? So I'm always video recording and doing these overlays as a way to prove and have evidence that what we're doing, what we say we're doing, we actually can show the evidence and proof of that. A lot of handlers or a lot of dog industry in general, especially tracking, has a lot of tall stories, and that's just because you get excited like how big is the fish you caught? It was huge because you're very excited about it. I would have had I not had back in if I did this track back when I was with police, I said I'd track like 500 like 5 kilometers. Look, sorry, I didn't come back to this. There's a footprint, and this is what I mean. I can see a footprint on the ground right there. I'll rewind it a little bit, and you can see Sabre actually go investigate that. Right there. I'm like, what is she sniffing? Oh, wait, that looks like a footprint. I was like, oh, confidence levels come back up now. I'm feeling good. And I'm seeing more of them too. I'm like, oh, did he come down from that berm up there? Are we going up this direction maybe? Oh, awesome. I was keen to get off the tracks. But then I look at the direction and the orientation of the foot to tell me the direction that we're going in. Yep. Cool. Confirmation. Sabre goes that direction. We're going that direction. Brilliant.
Yep, I'm there. I think he's probably been walking all along here.
Yeah, see? You can see more footprints there.
The wind's putting her on the rail track. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty interesting thing. I just said that. I'm not sure if you heard on the video. Probably not. But the fact that the railway lines is probably actually a good place to lay a track because you have these natural barriers that will hold the odour in, so keep it in that area. Look at this, beautiful.
Well, she gets this. She's done hard surface tracking as well.
Yeah. You can definitely tell she's done hard surface tracking, and this is the benefit of doing hard surface tracking. So moments like this, but they also have so much carryover into soft surface because if your dog can track here, it can definitely track in the state forest with lush green grass. So this is why I'm a massive proponent of getting a dog started on hard surface. Once the foundations are built there, then you move on to soft surface. So yes. Yeah, as I was saying, basically just doing this because my goal is to hit the 10,000 mark and I want to document and video and record that whole process. And now it's just determining whether the next time we head out there, do I go to 4,000 meters or do I go straight to 5,000? Because while there's 1,000 meters difference between the two, between 4,000 and 5,000, it's a big commitment to do even a 4,000 meter track. So you might as well do a 5,000 meter track, right? Or is that biting off too more than we can chew? I believe Sabre has the legs in her to do it. She smashed this out and fatigue wasn't an issue. And because I imagine when you start doing 4,000, 5,000, you're probably only going to be able to do one track in the day. So it is something you have to consider. I think I might go straight to 5,000. And until I see something different, it'll just be a quicker way to getting it done. So anyway, things like right there, like that little head snap. Where was that head snap? So I'm looking around, I'm like, are we coming out? We're coming out of that tunnel area. Bang, right there. Great example of a head snap confirming that's where the track is. See, intensity's picked up now. I know something's changed. Look, making a intentional change and movement in a new direction is a great indicator that we're on the track. Another fence. What are we gonna do here, Sabre? She's figuring out a way to get in. Any dog does anything like this, it is clear as mud. Not clear as mud. It is a clear sign that the track has gone this direction. Like bloody awesome track laying too. Stuff like if you can do stuff like this as a track layer, great, because it just adds a little bit of variety, a little bit of challenge into the monotony of tracking. Just flat ground. So, hop over.
Oh, wait here. Are you sure?
Hey?
You sure that's what?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cameraman was like, "Are you sure this goes this direction?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure." And
Sure
yeah,
as it can be.
as sure as I'm going to get, because this is how we've gotten here so far. I didn't think you want to jump over and then jump over again if I was wrong.
That's just you just press the ring button.
Oh, okay.
All right, so a new location. Now we're in a big
It's easy.
open paddock, and this paddock I remember was must have had a huge amount of cattle walk it, because the ground was so like just boggy and like not flat. I mean, I was rolling my ankle consistently, like I didn't injure myself, but yeah, just kept going, and I was kept stumbling over.
Bad leg.
But anyway, we get through this sort of boggy
Swamp, isn't it?
swamp area and move out into a bit of the covered area again. I'm thinking to myself, surely by now we must be getting towards the end, and I'm feeling good now though, because there's no cattle here that I can see. Sabre's working a single track. We've just come off that hard surface area, and we're working really well. I'm always looking around, seeing what I can see. Always scanning the environment. Watching my dog's body language. I see the head's going to start popping up a bit more now as we're getting closer. But another thing is, scent pools and proximity alerts can make the end of the track more complicated. So it's not over yet. Like, the hardest part might still just be around the corner. So you're just praying that it's a simple finish, there's not too much wind, and apologies for that. No, it does that sometimes. And that it's just a straightforward finish to the end. But you don't know. You're still just watching your dog and second guessing yourself. You're like, surely we're coming to the end, but maybe not. Maybe I've got another 1,000 meters to go. And up here I see something that sticks out from the natural environment. I'm like, ooh, what is that? I still follow my dog. Don't want to get overexcited, but you can't help it a little bit. You're like, please be the track. Like, oh, there he is. Pop his head up. Oh, mate, you have no idea how good that felt. I was so stoked. That was a journey, man. Especially because of the struggle I had at the beginning with the cattle. It was a lot. So, yeah, that was it, guys. 3,000 meters. Hectic. That was a hard, bloody track. But because it was so hard, because it was so challenging, it makes it all the more rewarding when you do get to the end. So, yeah, thinking pushing out to 5. Probably going to push out to 5. And yeah, let's see how we do there. Thank you very much for hanging out, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.